What if the reason your life isn't changing isn't your situation, but something you can't even see? Something running in the background, quietly shaping every decision you make, every reaction, every habit, every result. And you don't even realize it's there, because it feels like you. But here's the unsettling part. What if that you is just a pattern, a program you never chose? Think about it. Why do you keep falling into the same cycles, same mistakes, same thoughts? You promise yourself, this time will be different. And for a moment, it is. Then slowly, you drift back, like something is pulling you, and no matter how motivated you feel, you end up right where you started. Be honest. Does this feel familiar? Because this is where it gets real. There are two versions of you, the one you think you are, and the one that's actually in control. And most of the time, it's not the one you think. The conscious mind, that voice in your head, it feels powerful. It makes plans, sets goals, wants change. But it's only a small part of the system. The real power? It's hidden, silent, and incredibly consistent. Your subconscious mind. And here's the truth nobody tells you. It doesn't care about what you want. It only responds to what you believe. Let that sink in. Because this is the gap most people never close. They want success, but believe they're not enough. They want peace, but expect chaos. They want change, but trust their past more than their future. So what happens? The subconscious wins, every time. And that's when it hits you. It's not your effort that's broken. It's your programming. Now here's the part that changes everything. Your subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't question. It accepts. Whatever you repeat, whatever you feel deeply, it takes as truth. So if you keep telling yourself, I'm not ready, I always mess this up, this is just who I am, your mind listens, and then it proves you right. Not because it's against you, but because it's doing its job. To keep things familiar, safe, predictable. Even if that safe place is exactly what's holding you back. Now here's a question most people avoid. If your life stayed exactly the same for the next 5 years, would you be okay with that? Don't answer quickly, because your first answer might not be honest. Sit with it, because deep down, you already know. And that quiet discomfort you feel, that's not fear, that's awareness. And awareness is dangerous, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. But this is also where resistance begins, because your mind will try to protect the old version of you. It'll say things like, this is too complicated, this won't work for me, I've tried everything. And it sounds convincing, because it's familiar. But here's the truth, it's not protecting you, it's protecting your current identity. And your identity is just a collection of repeated thoughts, which means it can change. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Changing your life doesn't start with actions, it starts with beliefs. And beliefs don't change overnight. They change through repetition, emotion, consistency. Sounds simple, but it's not easy. Because you've been repeating the same patterns for years, maybe without even realizing it. Every time you doubt yourself, every time you hesitate, every time you expect things to go wrong, you're reinforcing the same identity. And your subconscious, it's taking notes, building patterns, strengthening them, until they become automatic. And that's why you feel stuck. Not because you're incapable, but because your mind is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Now here's where things start to shift. What if, instead of fighting your mind, you worked with it? What if you stopped trying to force change and started guiding it? Because this next part, it's where everything flips. Wait till you hear this. Your subconscious learns in a very specific way, not through logic, not through force, but through repetition and emotion. Meaning, What you consistently think and what you strongly feel becomes your reality. So if you could control that, even a little, what would change? Think about it. Because this isn't about becoming someone else. It's about removing what's been holding you back and replacing it with something intentional, something chosen, something aligned with the life you actually want. But here's the catch. Most people never do this consciously. They let their environment decide. Social media, past experiences, other people's opinions, all feeding the same patterns, again and again, until it feels permanent. But it's not. And that realization, it's powerful. Because it means you're not stuck. You're just untrained. And training your mind, it doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness, consistency, and a decision. A decision to stop living on autopilot and start taking control. Because this next part, this is where the real shift begins. And that's when something uncomfortable starts to happen. You realize it's not just your thoughts holding you back. It's your identity. Not what you want to be, but what you've been repeating to yourself for years. I'm not disciplined. I always quit. I'm just not that kind of person. And here's the part nobody tells you. Your subconscious doesn't argue with you. It agrees. Every single time. So when you say, I can't do this, it quietly responds, got it. We don't do that. And then it builds your behavior around that belief. It's not sabotaging you. It's following orders. Think about that for a second. If your mind has been taking instructions from you this whole time, what have you been telling it? Be honest. Does this feel familiar? Because this is where things get real. Most people try to change their life by forcing new actions. Wake up earlier, work harder, stay consistent. But underneath all that effort, their identity hasn't changed. So eventually, they fall back. Not because they're weak, but because their subconscious is trying to stay consistent with who they believe they are. Now here's the shift, and it's a big one. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. So if you still see yourself as someone who procrastinates, you will find a way to procrastinate, even when you don't want to, even when it hurts. But if you start seeing yourself differently, everything changes. Not instantly, but steadily, quietly, powerfully. And this next part changes everything. Instead of asking, what should I do today? You start asking, who am I becoming? Because actions follow identity, not the other way around. Let's say you want to be someone who's disciplined. Most people try to act disciplined. They push themselves, force routines, fight resistance. But someone who believes they are disciplined doesn't need to fight as much, because their actions feel aligned, natural, expected. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't debate it, you just do it. So the real question is, what identity are you reinforcing every single day? Through your thoughts, through your habits, through your choices. Because every small action is a vote, not for what you want, but for who you believe you are. And yeah, that might feel heavy, but it's also freeing, because it means you can start small. You don't need a massive transformation overnight. You just need one honest shift, one moment where you choose differently, and then another, and another. And slowly, your subconscious starts updating the story. But here's the catch, and most people miss this. Your brain doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about repetition. So saying, I want to change once, does nothing. But showing up consistently, even in small ways, that's what rewires you.
That's what builds a new identity. And yeah, it's not glamorous, it's not fast, but it's real. Let me ask you something. Which one are you right now? Someone waiting to feel ready, or someone starting anyway? Because that choice, even if it feels small, is shaping everything. And this is where resistance shows up again, louder this time. Your brain will say things like, "This isn't working. You're still the same. What's the point?" Not because it's true, but because change feels unfamiliar, and your mind is wired to prefer familiar over better, even if familiar is painful. I used to think that meant I was broken, like something in me just couldn't stick to anything. But then I realized I wasn't failing because I lacked discipline. I was failing because I kept reinforcing the wrong identity. I kept proving to myself that I was inconsistent, and my brain believed me, so it kept delivering more inconsistency. That's how powerful this is. But here's the part that gives you control. You can interrupt that pattern. You can choose one action today that doesn't match your old identity and do it anyway. Not because you feel like it, but because you're deciding who you are now. And at first, it will feel fake, uncomfortable, forced. Good. That means you're stepping out of the old pattern. That means something is shifting. And slowly, that discomfort turns into familiarity. That action becomes part of you, and your subconscious updates the script. But wait till you hear this. There's one more layer most people completely ignore, and it's the reason why even after changing habits, they still feel stuck. Because it's not just what you do, it's what you emotionally attach to those actions. And that's where everything either sticks or falls apart.
And this is the part most people never fully understand. It's not just what you do. It's what you feel while you do it. Because your subconscious doesn't just store actions, it stores emotional meaning. So if every time you try to improve your life, it feels forced, stressful, exhausting, your brain links growth with pain. And guess what it does next? It avoids it. Not because you're weak, but because your mind is trying to protect you. That's why you start something, feel motivated for a few days, and then slowly pull away. It's not a discipline problem. It's an emotional association problem. And once you see that, everything changes. Because now, the goal isn't just to do better. It's to feel different while doing it. Let me explain. Imagine two people doing the exact same habit, waking up early. One person thinks, "This sucks, I hate this, I wish I could sleep more." The other thinks, "This is who I am now, I'm building something." Same action, different identity, different emotion, different result. Because one is reinforcing resistance and the other is reinforcing alignment. So here's the shift. Stop trying to force habits. Start attaching meaning to them, because meaning is what sticks. Now here's a question. Why do some people stay consistent while others keep starting over? It's not because they're stronger. It's because their actions are connected to identity, not obligation. They're not doing it because they have to. They're doing it because it's who they are. And that's a completely different game. Now think about your own life. What habits are you trying to build that still feel like a burden? Gym? Work? Focus? And more importantly, what are you telling yourself while doing them? Because those quiet thoughts, they matter more than you think. This might sound simple, but it's powerful. If you change the meaning, you change the experience. And if you change the experience, you change the habit.
And once the habit changes, your life follows. That's the chain. And this is where everything comes together. Your thoughts create your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your identity. Your identity drives your actions. Your actions build your reality. So if you've been trying to change your life by only focusing on actions, you've been starting at the wrong level. You don't need more effort. You need better alignment. Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. This takes time. Not forever, but longer than a few days. Because you're not just changing habits, you're changing patterns that have been running for years. But here's the upside. Once it shifts, it stays. Because it's not surface level anymore. It's who you are. And that's why some people seem naturally disciplined. It's not natural. It's trained, repeated, reinforced, until it became automatic. And you can do the same, not perfectly, but consistently. Let me ask you something. If you actually committed to this, not for a day, not for a week, but long enough to let it become part of you, where would your life be 6 months from now? Think about that. Because most people overestimate what they can do in one day and underestimate what they can become in 6 months. And that's why they stay stuck. They chase quick wins instead of long-term identity. But you're different now. You see the pattern. You understand the system. And awareness like this, it doesn't just disappear. It stays with you, quietly guiding your choices. So here's what matters now. Not a big plan, not a perfect routine, just one decision, one shift, one moment where you act as the person you're becoming, not the one you used to be. And then you repeat it again and again until it feels normal, until it feels like you. Because that's how change actually happens. Not in one big breakthrough, but in small, consistent alignments. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll wake up and things will feel different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And that's the real power of your subconscious mind. So if this hit something in you, if you felt that quiet shift, don't ignore it. Because those moments, they're rare and they matter. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start and stay. Because the life you want isn't waiting somewhere in the future. It's being built in the way you think right now. If this stayed with you even a little, don't just scroll past it. Stay with it and start choosing differently. Because this might be the moment everything changes for real.